James Talarico is not Ken Paxton, that's for sure, because James Talarico's never been indicted like Ken Paxton has. James Talarico's never been impeached like Ken Paxton has. James Talarico doesn't have any scandals of infidelity like Ken Paxton does. James Talarico is the antithesis of Ken Paxton because Ken Paxton is the most corrupt politician in America, according to James Talarico's new ad he just released today.
Ken Paxton may have officially won the Republican runoff against John Cornyn, but almost immediately, the Republican attack machine shifted its focus straight toward James Talarico. The usual narratives, the predictable talking points, and the same culture war arguments are already being rolled out at full speed. But during this CNN NewsNight panel, Keith Boykin completely tears through those arguments and forces the conversation back onto Paxton's actual record instead of the distractions Republicans want voters focused on. What follows is a pretty revealing exchange about corruption, political strategy, and why some Democrats believe Republicans may have handed them an unexpected opening in Texas. Watch the clip in full first, and afterwards, I'll break down exactly why this discussion matters heading into the general election.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip in New York, and breaking news tonight. In one of the biggest primary showdowns of the year, CNN is projecting that Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton will defeat longtime incumbent Senator John Cornyn in the GOP runoff for U.S. Senate. It was a blowout win and a massive victory for Trump that tested his grip on the Republican Party. For months, Trump sat out this contest. But in a surprise move last week, the president endorsed Paxton, arguing that Cornyn wasn't loyal enough to him while he was president. So here's what Paxton had to say about Trump's support just a few moments ago.
When everyone in Washington told him to abandon me and abandon the people of Texas, he didn't listen. Instead, he gave his complete and total endorsement. President Trump is the leader of our party, and his endorsement in this is the most powerful force in politics. Tonight, we just sent a Texas-sized message to Washington. I said it in March, and I'll say it again now. Today, change was on the ballot, and change won.
Now, Paxton's nomination could ultimately complicate things come November. He is coming with, to put it lightly, a long, long laundry list of scandals that have plagued him. That's something that has worried some GOP senators who believe that Cornyn had a better chance of hanging on to this GOP seat in the fall. Brad Todd, I mean, he's right that Trump's endorsement is king in the Republican primary, but I'm wondering, do you think he is right that Trump made the right decision here to endorse Paxton?
Well, first off, incumbents tend to get in runoffs what they got in the first. And so John Cornyn's camp was already concerned that he was under 50% in the first. And you don't tend to grow much as an incumbent the second time around. But I think it's a big gamble by President Trump. Ken Paxton's a bad fundraiser. There's a lot of opposition research against him. He's a polarizing figure. His only saving grace in this is that he's running against James Talarico, who is the most radical person to ever run statewide in Texas. And this election in the fall will be a referendum on him more than it will be on Ken Paxton, I suspect.
James Talarico is not Ken Paxton, that's for sure, because James Talarico's never been indicted like Ken Paxton has. James Talarico's never been impeached like Ken Paxton has. James Talarico doesn't have any scandals of infidelity like Ken Paxton does. James Talarico is the antithesis of Ken Paxton because Ken Paxton is the most corrupt politician in America, according to James Talarico's new ad he just released today. So Democrats, don't really have a good shot usually in a state like Texas, but Donald Trump just gave Democrats the best possible hand they could by supporting Ken Paxton and not supporting his incumbent, John Cornyn.
I'll agree with you, John Cornyn. If John Cornyn had won tonight, we would never talk about the Texas Senate race ever again. Ken Paxton is the only way this could be an ongoing topic on this network.
Yeah, and there is also the fundraising issue, as has been brought up, is that the Republicans are going to have to spend a lot of money on this race. And James Talarico, I think already in the first quarter, has raised like nearly $30 million. So the Democrats can literally leave him alone and let him operate on his own. And that's a big win for them, considering the amount of money they're going to have to spend in some other races. So from a strategy standpoint, even if James Talarico doesn't win, I think it still benefits the Democratic Party.
I also, I see Trump doing what he often does, which is deciding that someone's loyalty is not enough. Trump said in his endorsement of Paxton that John Cornyn is a good man and I work well with him, but he was not supportive of me when times were tough. John was very late in backing me in what turned out to be a historic run for the Republican nomination and then the presidency. And he's not wrong about that. But I mean, comments dating back to 2016, Cornyn is basically saying Trump would be a bad nominee, but so did a lot of people. So did Marco Rubio. So did J.D. Vance. So why is it that some people's loyalty is being held against them and other people it's not?
Abby, I don't think you have to go back to 2016. It was just a few weeks ago that Trump was on the precipice of endorsing John Cornyn. So when you throw out the fact that he's not loyal, the reality is that he was basically prepared to endorse Cornyn. There's no doubt that he has full grip on the Republican Party. I think you've seen that again in Indiana. You've seen that in Kentucky. You've seen that in Louisiana. In this case, though, I think he had clear evidence that Paxton was going to win this race, which is why he made the
He just kind of jumped on the horse.
He got in front of the parade as fast as he could. I mean, again, if this was about being loyal or not, then he wouldn't have been prepared to endorse Cornyn just a few weeks ago.
You think that he's just trying to back the person who was likely
in this case. Now, again, I'm not questioning his command of the party because he's shown it again and again and again. But in this case, I think he was trying to get ahead of the parade.
I think Trump also has some unique insight here that indictments and impeachments and infidelities and divorces don't really disqualify a candidate, right? This is a man who's the woman who was married to him for years won't even endorse him, but he's got that Trump endorsement, and apparently that is one of the biggest pieces of political capital we can have. They were just saying that in the clip we watched, but in truth, the biggest power is not a Trump endorsement. It's people showing up and voting. I'm excited to see in this general election how the youth vote, how the rural vote, how people of color turn out, because folks like Ken Paxton are running on a record where they've enriched themselves and lined their pockets, right? His net worth has grown $12 million since he's been in office in 2003, basically my whole lifetime. And while Attorney General, he denied people water breaks, right? That was what he was running on. Meanwhile, he's got 10 homes all across this country. And so him and Donald Trump have a whole lot in common, and this endorsement is no surprise.
But Talarico doesn't have much in common with most Texans. I think that's going to be a real challenge. If you're basically saying that eating meat is such an existential threat to the environment, that's not going to play well in Texas.
The Texas swing voter is right of center. And the Democrats would have done themselves much better if tonight they had nominated a Hispanic, Catholic, tough on the border, tough on law and order, state legislator or sheriff or county commissioner in the border counties. I mean, Donald Trump carried the Rio Grande Valley. I think Republicans are going to carry most of the Rio Grande Valley in Congress races this year. James Talarico is Austin. He is the left of the Texas Democratic Party.
It's funny that Republicans, I wasn't even a James Talarico supporter. I supported Jasmine Crockett in the primary. I've been in Texas the past 5 months because I've been there with my mom. And I'm telling you that Texas is ripe for the pickings. Democrats have to have the right candidate and the right time. And Democrats are excited this year in the way that they haven't been in any other year in recent memory. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. And the fact that they're going after James Talarico the way they are, with these silly attacks about whether he eats meat or not, or whether he's
that's the worst that they come up with.
We can go further.
I'm sorry.
There's 12 million cows in Texas.
I get it.
If you want to say that Ken in Texas believes there's 6 genders, I think there's going to be a lot of
issues. He says the American flag is a complicated symbol.
But see, this is the kind of nonsense that Republicans want to play. They don't want to focus on the real issues about what's going to be good for Texas. Who's going to put money on your table?
Well, James
Talarico
on middle class tax.
Who's going to make sure you have health
Paxton
insurance?
coming through as the nominee here. I actually think this is going to be a race largely about corruption. And there's a hunger for moral leadership right now in this party and across this country that I think James Talarico is speaking to.
Let me play some of these are some voters that were speaking earlier today during voting about their choice in this Senate race, Republican voters. Listen.
I was torn because I was going to go with Cornyn. Mm-hmm. But when Trump backed in, I listened to Trump. I like Trump. I like Trump a lot.
I made one vote, and that was for Cornyn.
And why is that?
Primarily because he's not supported by Trump. I don't like Paxton's history, and that combined with Trump's support makes it a non-starter. I think he's ruined my Republican Party. I think he's divided America.
So that last gentleman, I don't know how many Republicans in the state of Texas feel that way. But I wonder about the 30-something% that Cornyn did get in this race and whether that's a sign of trouble. Because, Talarico, he had a a statement tonight. He said he's thanking John Cornyn for his years of service. He says, we don't agree on everything, but we still believe in public service. To Senator Cornyn's supporters, you have a place in our campaign. I mean, I do wonder, look, Democrats have a long history of wasting a lot of time trying to go after Republican voters. But I do wonder, I mean, how many Republicans, not only do they hate Paxton's history, but they don't like what Trump has been doing to the Republican Party and might be looking to send a message.
Look, I think Paxton is a divisive and a weak candidate for Republicans. I still think it's Texas, Abby, and I still think at the end of the day that even that candidate is going to beat Talarico in November. Will we spend a lot of resources in Texas that I wish we'd be spending elsewhere? Absolutely. Have we already spent a lot of dollars trying to support incumbent John Cornyn that some think maybe is replenishable, but some donors may feel like I just spent a ton of money and lost in a primary. It may not be. So I think this is...
And a lot of people are loyal to Cornyn in terms of
I think Cornyn is... The donors in Texas love John Cornyn, but they also do not want a left-wing Democrat like James Talarico. Now, I think he's a lift. I think he's a pretty big lift. But I think that the president has $300 million in his affiliated committees. There's no place like Texas to raise Republican money because it comes out of the ground and it won't stop coming out of the ground every day. And so
I think the real danger here, though, for Republicans is that Republican voters just won't show up. Because, I mean, Ken Paxton was impeached by Republican House of Representatives in Texas. It wasn't Democrats who impeached him, Republicans. He's not well liked. He's not just scandal plagued. He's disliked. And the idea that
turnout's low tonight too. You're right about that.
Do you remember when back in the 2017 Alabama Senate race, Trump endorsed Roy Moore, who was accused of sexual encounters with young girls, teens? And he did so despite everybody basically telling him not to do it. Roy Moore goes on to lose that campaign by a small margin, but loses it. I mean, there is a prospect that this could be a similar setup.
Doug Jones promised he was a moderate in that race. James Talarico's not promising that.
I guess the question is on what are voters going to be voting on? Are they going to be voting on the price of gas being $4 plus? Or are they going to be voting on what people think are, gender pronouns or whatever?
Yeah, and I was just about to bring that up. I think the state of the economy is really going to play in Democrats' favor in this race, especially in Texas, where they love to brag about how cheap everything is, and now it's not looking that way anymore. You also have, I think, the other issue is that because Trump has aligned himself with this person and they are like this is a historically unpopular president. So while, yes, the endorsement was enough to carry him with Republicans, but there's a whole lot of independents and a whole lot of swing voters that are like out on Trump completely. And I think that situation applies to Texas as well, despite the fact that on some level, I think you're right that the makeup of James Talarico is not what you would typically expect Texans to vote for. But considering everything that is happening in the country and all the issues, I think that this is probably as good of a chance as the Democrats have had in years to actually win this.
Republicans have spent decades branding themselves as the party of morality, family values, and personal responsibility. But at some point, people have to start asking whether those standards only apply when Democrats are involved. Because the same political movement that once treated Bill Clinton's affair like a national emergency now rallies behind leaders surrounded by scandals that are objectively far more serious. Donald Trump paid hush money to an adult film actress while his wife was pregnant. Ken Paxton was accused of using his office to benefit a donor he was allegedly involved with personally. And despite all of that, Republicans still present themselves as the side defending traditional values. That contradiction is exactly why so many voters no longer take those arguments seriously anymore. And honestly, I think Republicans may be getting way too confident about this race. Ken Paxton is not some universally respected conservative figure in Texas. Even Republicans impeached him, not Democrats, Republicans. That alone tells you just how controversial he really is inside his own party. His political baggage is massive, and Democrats now have an easy lane to make this election about ethics, corruption, abuse of power, and hypocrisy. Because when you compare James Talarico to someone like Ken Paxton, there simply is not an equal amount of controversy surrounding both men. One candidate is carrying years of scandals and investigations into this race, the other isn't. And what makes this even more ironic is that MAGA figures keep trying to change the conversation toward culture war distractions instead of defending Paxton's actual record directly. That usually tells you where the real weakness is. At the end of the day, this race is probably going to come down to turnout, the economy, and whether voters care more about political loyalty or personal character. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Do you think Ken Paxton's controversies could genuinely hurt Republicans in Texas? Or do you believe Trump's endorsement will ultimately outweigh everything else? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn notifications on if you want more political commentary and analysis. Appreciate you guys for watching.